Okay, last class we have imported other two files. So that is the dashboards.css and dashboard.js. Okay, let me run it again. So that is not resolved yet. Okay, so we are getting.
No, not yet resolved.
Yeah, not yet resolved. So we'll continue that same thing. So now again we are getting that 404. Even if you see in the network, yeah, it is saying 400 error, means it is not found. So for our these all static files is from the browser, it's not able to fetch the source code. Okay, so for that, even it is saying 404. So from which folder it is trying to take? From static dashboard.js. So from here it is trying to take. Okay, so now we need to do the Python manage.py collect static. So this is the command which we use to collect the static files. Okay, so when I am running this collect static command, so it is saying that you are using the static files app without having the static root. So in the settings, so we have to set the static root in the settings.py file. So this is only one time setup. So once it is done, so then you just need to add the static files, and you need to, when there is a changes, you need to run the manage.py collect statics. So it will collect the static and it will keep in the static folder. So from that folder, it will fetch the static files. So now we have just set the static URL, but we have not given the static root. So static root means, so we should give the base directory also. So let's check that how to give the static root. So this is the static URL we have given, and we need to set the, this is the static file directory, should be a static root. So this is the static root. So, but we should use the base directory. So because where www something, this path is only will be in the Linux system, but if it is a Windows system, it is a different one. So once we use the base directory, so it takes the project where there is a path, so that base directory it will take. So whether it is Windows, it takes from C drive or D drive, wherever it is located. So I have to take a base directory. So in the initially we have used the base directory. So this is the base directory. So what happens? So the path of that file .resolve.parent.parent. So it will take the current project complete path. So from that we need to say that static folder. The plus leaves the flash. Let's confirm it again whether it is right syntax. Okay. So we'll give like this only. So now let's run the collect static. Okay, so now it is saying, so 130 static files has been copied. So it's not only copied our static files. So there is a Django administration, which we were seeing that Django administration page. So that static files also it will collect, it will keep it in a static folder. So now we can able to see this static files folder. Okay, but I need to change this to static. So because we are setting the static URL as a just a static. Now let's run it again. So now again it's created a one more static folder. So this is not required, we can delete it. Okay, so now the static files is collected, all the static files. Still it is not loading because static file directories we need to mention. So still it is not there because if you see this static folder, so there is no files like a dashboard.css. So these files not loaded. So because these are all the static files for our template. So these admin template, admin is for Django administration templates. So Django administration means once by default there will be a super admin login. So where we can see all the objects. In the previous class we have checked that one also. So for that, we have to give the static directory also. So this is the static file directory. Now let's run the collect static. Okay, it should be static directory. So it is asking whether do you want to collect the statics. You have to type the yes and you have to enter. So still it is showing 0 static files copied. Okay, let's see. So when we run this command, so we have to give yes. So that time it should say, so how many static files has been copied. So but it is showing 0 files and the files also has not come. So again, there is some mistake. So when setting the static directories. So we'll check my previous project. Static root and static. Okay. So this also we have to give static file directives. Means this should be know from which path it should download the static files. So for example, I will give now. So in our case, the app name is demo. So inside the demo, inside the polls, inside these polls, so there is a templates. So after this template, there is a static folder. So whatever the files are there here, so it will collect it and store it in the static directory. Yeah, now it is showing 6 files has been copied. So now let's go and check in the static folder. So the files has been came. So this is the Django administrator static files. So these are all our template static files. So now it should load the UI. Yeah. So now this is loading the complete design and JavaScript. Everything is loading. So now we are not getting any error also. So it's giving a 200. Okay, so like this. So this is only the first time initial setup to make the static root and static directories. So this is why it will happen. It will collect the separate static files. When the application is serving from the server, so it will cache the static files in the browser, because every time when the user will request for the URL, so it is not required to be send all the static files to the browser. So only one time it will load that. So that's why it will separately, it will collect the static folder from the in the Django application. So like this, So we need to set the static root, static directories, and static file directories. So these static file directories are the directories where we are actually storing the static files. So, but whatever we make the changes, so we will do only within this template static files. So only after making the changes, so then only we have to run that command python manage.py collect statics. So after that it will update all the static files inside this folder. So then only it will apply the changes. Okay, this is the first template we have loaded. So this is like a model view template. So there is a model and there is a view method. So from the model, we fetch the data and we will try to populate some data in this front end. So now I will just stop this. So we should use the debugger every time. So we understand the code in a perfect manner. Also, we can easily find the issues and we can fix the issues very easily. So in the context, I am passing the data. So first, let's see what is coming in the data. So I just reload this page. So debugger has stopped in this. So there is a toStudent object is there. So it is just adding the two student names, Harsha, Guru and Harsha. So it is in the list. Okay, so this list I am passing in the context. So this context will be passed to the index.html. So there we can use the data. So we'll show that. So how can I populate the data in the index.html? So let's go to the index.html. So when we are changing any HTML files, so that is not required to collect statics. So collect static means only if you change any CSS, JavaScript and static files like a image or anything if you added. So only that time you have to run. So when you change that HTML code, it is not required to set anything. Okay, so there is a column. So first I will say this as a students. Okay, so here we have to any variable if you want to mention, we should use a double flower bracket and close double flower bracket, open and close double flower brackets. So here I will mention that data. Now I just save this. I will remove the breakpoint. So where I am displaying, here I am displaying students. So it is coming the list. Okay, so let's now try to add it in the table itself. So let's go to index.html. So these are all the columns. So now let's so I just give the first column name as a name. So in the tr, I will set the student names. Okay, in the first row, I will completely fill the student names. How many students are there? So that much row should come. So here we can use the for loop. So when we are using the for loop, so we have to mention Okay. So when we want to iterate, for example, if there is a 10 objects, so it will create the 10 elements, TD elements. So for example, if it is 5 elements, it will create the 5 TD elements, tag 5 HTML tags, TD tags, and it will set the values. So this is the syntax when we are writing a for loop or if condition anything. So we have to use the same thing for day some variable name and in data. As this is a iteratable object, we can only put the for loop. Otherwise, we can't put the for loop because only if it is a list or tuple or dictionary, so only such kind of data. So also we should tell to the in the HTML file we should mention. So where we are ending that for loop. So when we mention this end for loop, so it will works only within this. So because otherwise it will take other HTML tags also. So let's check this. Okay, so in the first column it is printing first name. So in the second column it is printing Harsha. So there is no any other of there is only two values are there. So there is only two values are coming. Okay, any doubts in this?
No, sir, for me, no doubt.
Okay, so the same way, you should try with some simple static HTML files. HTML files along with the same design. Some template you can download it and you can use it. So if we want to work as a friend along with the front end, so usually we used to develop the HTML, CSS, everything. So if already somebody is there in the front end design, so they will give the HTML like this HTML, CSS, JavaScript source files. So we need to integrate those template files in the templates folder. Inside the templates folder, we need to add and we need to render from the view class. So this is a simple request we have just created for the landing page method. Okay, so this is the model view template. So this is the very basic one simple HTML template we have loaded along with the static files. Also, we have fetched the data from the model and we rendered the HTML template along with the context data. So that data we can able to populate it in the HTML view. So next we'll start exploring the class-based structure and all the types of what all the types will come in the views method and all the types of models. So how what else in the models what else we can do the operations. So there is not required to write any query because it's the ORM model. So without writing any query, so just by using the object based, we can work. So that we'll see one by one. So what are the features are there? So in the next classes. Okay, so next class or in another 1 or 2 days. So whatever I have done, so that same thing has to be practiced. So then I will just check it once. If you get any issues, so you can ask me.